everyone. This is Courtney Rowland and Mark Passwaters with the AggieYell F-Word Meaning Football podcast. Welcome to another week. The Aggies are heading to play South Carolina after a bye week and after being in Alabama or at Alabama in Tuscaloosa. We want to start this podcast off with a guest that we had join the show, Jamie McCoy, a former player, and he gives his insights to where the A&M football team is now. Courtney Rowland and Mark Passwaters here with Jamie McCoy, former Texas A&M football player, Pittsburgh Steelers. Jamie, one, happy to have you on the podcast, and two, just give me your brief thoughts on the state of the Texas A&M football program.
I would say we kind of in a prove it right now. We didn't start out the way that we wanted to. I'm sure a lot of the way that a lot of fans wanted nor expected us to. But I still think there's a lot of room for growth. And these young guys, being young, they still have a lot of experience to be had. This has been a tough stretch. I don't remember a stretch where I played at A&M where we had, 3-4 home games, and you just pretty much took a month off from Kyle Field, and then you get to come back. So this is the last game before they bring it back on to Kyle Field, and hopefully these young guys have learned what it's like playing with the Cowbells, playing at #1 Alabama at the time, and then now playing at South Carolina, which will be a tough opponent, and they've got a lot to prove themselves. But I think we're a better team, and I think we show that on Saturday.
Jamie, when you were playing, your teams went through this same youth process. When did you and your teammates start to realize, in terms of what Jimbo says, when you knew what you didn't know? When did things start to click about, how to play at this level and where you needed to improve?
I think they're at that point now, because you no longer, as a young guy, you can't say, hey, the guy, by this point you caught on to the speed of the game. You know how a game plan works. You're coming off of a bye week, so you've hopefully gotten a chance for your body to get some rest. And again, it's make or break time now. We're 500 on the season right now, and it's either, do we want to go play in a prominent bowl game, or do we want to not make a bowl season or go play at some Rudy Poo game that nobody cares about? So hopefully these guys are on the former. And I mean, I say it all the time. If these players knew how much it meant to the alumni and the guys that are backing them every day, it's like, I know they would play with more heart, more hunger out there. But I think it's due to come.
After watching the Alabama game last 2 weekends now ago, did you come away with that disappointed, or did you have a sense of optimism with the way that they played and taking it to the end against #1 with so many guys banged up?
I was way more on the optimistic side. I hate using the term moral victory, but for us, all I've been screaming all year is, let's throw the ball downfield, give our guys a chance. I mean, I remember back when we were playing, we were going to throw at least 3 or 4 fades, if not a post. Something was coming deep, just because you got to keep those DBs honest. So before that Alabama game, I was screaming for that, and we finally did it. We got some pass interference calls. We made some good catches. It's like, we have 5-star athletes. We got just as much talent as anybody on any roster, but we've got to use it properly. We can't just be dinking and dunking and thinking that that's going to help us in the future with the future recruits. You got to give these guys something where they can say, hey, I see myself playing in that system. I want to go there. I want to go be a part of that. You're not wanting to be a part of in this day and age in 2022, a West Coast offense. You're not trying to 4, 5, 6 yards at a time. These guys don't want to play for that. They want to light up that scoreboard.
Right. If you were given the opportunity to go in, they gave you the whiteboard and said, okay, Jamie, you're the offensive coordinator now. What are you going to do to change this scheme? Where would you start?
I would have Haynes King. I would have us more of a hurry. And I know Jimbo's MO is getting a quick little lead. I know he wants to get up by 14 and then just bleed the clock, kind of like an NFL style. But you can't do that this day and age. I would go almost no huddle. The team teams I played on when I was in Pittsburgh and then when I was at A&M. You could do one signal, and the offensive line, the receivers, the quarterback, the running backs, we all knew what play was called, what formation, what the blocking procedure was. So I would get into more of a hurry up deal where it's bang bang. There's not too much time to think about what I'm doing. It's just go. So I'd be more into the process of trying to get us as many reps as we could, just because we got the talent, and over time we're gonna either wear them out or we're gonna start putting up the numbers. So yeah, if I had the OC job, that would be my aim, is get these receivers downfield and then make some lanes for our chain.
With the way the offensive line's kind of dinged up right now, how do you adjust your offense to adapt for that? I mean, they could be down 4 starters tomorrow. So what do you do? What do you do to minimize that effect?
Yeah, that's where you gotta. That's where recruiting comes back in. You got to have a good stable of guys that are dependable, and you know that when a guy goes down, it's not the end of the world. It's kind of the standard is the standard, and these guys are going to come in and perform to the capability of the last guy. But in this scenario, again, like I said, you may speed it up just so guys aren't thinking. If you think, you stink, and with younger guys in there, with us having guys being banged up, that just tells me that we don't need to have them out there like trying to break stuff down. You know that the MO against us right now is to stunt and bring all types of blitzes and whatnot. So they got to be ready for it, because once a team sees that you're struggling with something, they're gonna bring that at you until you show them that you fixed it. So I would take the upper hand and try to speed them up and not allow them to get into those custom blitzes and where they're trying to time it up. We kind of demand them to go at our pace.
I like that. So you said something one time in one of your podcasts, something about A&M has the talent of like a Ferrari, basically, but it's going through like a school zone instead of like on the racetrack.
Oh yeah.
I feel like though we did get to see a little bit of it in Alabama from Evan Stewart. What do you think about him, his upside, his potential? Although besides that last play and him running the wrong route, what do you see his potential being? And then also touch on the use of the tight end.
With Evan Stewart, man, you just see that the guy is dynamic. Not only is he fast, he runs great routes. He has good hands when he decides to put both of them up there. And I just see him. The sky being the limit for him. I don't think he's reached into his top potential yet. I haven't seen a play where he's gotten to go down and make a huge catch and finish off the run. I love to see some more of that in our offense. And then as far as the tight ends go, the only one that I really got to see, and he looks the part, man. He's big, he's physical, he's blocking well, and he's making tough catches. He's got some touchdowns under his belt now, and that only goes to boost your confidence, especially as a young guy who hadn't been on the field or been that much of a force on the team. So with him, I love what I see. I hear that we got some other young guys coming in. Gosh, I'm blanking on. Is it Max? What's Max's last name?
Johnson. Jake's his brother.
Jake. Okay. Are they going to be available this weekend, or
I think I'm expecting Jake to be available. I mean, did you ever hear how he got hurt? It's just absolutely terrible.
No.
Well, you have the nice family moment where, Max is making his first start. They go out to warm up before the game. He's throwing to his brother. Jake's running routes and he pulls a quad.
Oh, my gosh. No, see, I'm fortunate enough. I've never pulled a muscle, so I don't know that feeling, but I know that it can take you down for a while.
Yeah.
So it's good that he may be possibly getting back.
Yeah. I like him, and I like the Theo Orstrom, the kid from Sweden, but the growth process there going from Euroball to the SEC has got to be tremendous.
Oh, yeah. See, and that's the thing. We just haven't been able to get these guys on the field. And I know, coming back to Watermeyer and Sternberger, Jimbo wants to use these tight ends, and the tight end is a big part of his offense. But if you got 2 of them, that just makes it so much more of a threat, because they've got to respect our threat of run. And
right.
with that threat of run, you've got to have two of them that are very capable blockers that can handle a defensive end or a bigger linebacker, because we want to out personnel these guys. So it's all about growth with those younger guys, the two that you mentioned. I don't know how to pronounce that last name. And
I call him Baby Thor.
okay, Baby Thor. Yeah, if we can get these guys to put their hand in the pile and give us a boost on offense, I mean, it's only going to make waves for Chain. I've been saying that again since the beginning of the year, that Chain needs more than just a shotgun with a zone read and you just hand off and let him go. I feel like he needs a fullback, a tight end, somebody in front of him, whether you're doing power, some type of counter, something where he can use that guy and kind of pace himself to stay behind him, or just if that guy's going to blow the guy up, just run behind him. But I think he needs somebody in front of him to just kind of maneuver and make a decisive decision. So hopefully these young guys get it going, get their hand in the pile, and are ready to make some noise on Saturday.
You think that going power might be a good idea with this young line? I mean, obviously, like you said, you think you stink. That would be about as basic as it gets, and they might be inexperienced, but there's an awful lot of 325 and 330.
Oh yeah,
that's going to be up front on Saturday.
Oh yeah, I think with the speed of Chain, I think power is a great call. You put that tight end on the defensive end, and if they're in a certain front, I mean, he'll just combo up with the right tackle or left tackle, whichever side we happen to be running it on, up to that linebacker. But it makes it simple enough for all the center and everybody on the backside to handle their gap. And like I said, that fullback or whoever you have leading them, just kind of simplify it. It all needs especially coming off of a bye week. You kind of go in and get back to the fundamentals. So simplify for these guys, and let's go. Let's not think a lot. Let's just go out there and play, react, and get to the ball on the offense. Get to the goal line.
Well, we appreciate it, Jamie. Before we go, how was your daughter's performance last night?
Man, it was awesome. Their whole second grade class did well. She had one speaking part, which was, any speaking part. But what I was impressed with, she had a little part where she sang. And she, unbeknownst to me, she just was in perfect pitch, great key. She didn't have a long part, but all the parents afterwards are, crediting us. And I'm like, I can't sing. She ain't getting nothing from me. I know her mom sings, but she did well. I was just proud of her for, getting in front of a big crowd can be nerve-wracking, especially for a second grader. And she seemed to not have a problem with it and loved it. So it's like,
just owned it.
Oh Great. Yeah, hear you on another path.
Yeah,
I love it, doll. I love it.
Well, thank you, Jamie. We really appreciate it.
Okay, absolutely. I enjoy you guys. Y'all let me know whenever y'all need a guest. Good seeing you both. Good luck to the Aggies this weekend.
Yes, let's
go. All right, guys.
Aggies and Astros.
Yeah, hey, 2-0. Let's go. See y'all.
It's always great hearing from former players, especially Jamie McCoy. What a great personality he is and great insights he has. Now let's dive into the nitty-gritty from Mark, who has been covering the team, knows the team, the injuries, everything like that. Let's get into all the details of South Carolina. Mark, what are you expecting? I guess first and foremost, let's start with the quarterback position.
Okay, well, hang on a second. My shoulder's hurting. I've got an injury. I just want to be like everybody else. I'm under the impression that Haynes King is going to start Saturday. It's kind of a tough decision, at least in my opinion, because the offensive line is so banged up. I mean, I think they may be short 4 starters Saturday. And if Haynes King is as damaged as it seems, then his ability to run may be compromised. Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, then you're missing a big part of his ability to play. So I don't know if you want to start Connor Weigman in front of a sellout crowd on the road with a banged up offensive line, but at least I'd consider it.
So what are your thoughts? Do you think he does start Connor Weigman?
No, I think he's going to start King, and hopefully he's up to the task. I was impressed with the guts that King showed against Alabama. I mean, You and I both saw it on that last drive. He was getting knocked down every single play, but he kept on getting up and kept coming. But I mean, if you've got a rib injury and you've got a foot or ankle injury, and one of your fortes is supposed to be your ability to run, that's pretty tough. So, I'm curious to see what they can do. This South Carolina defense isn't that good. They're ranked 43rd in the country, but they have basically thrived off of lesser competition. Georgia State was one of the teams they played. They played South Carolina State, who A&M played a decade ago and just absolutely demolished. It's a SWAC school. These are not exactly great opponents. The quality teams that they've played, Arkansas and Georgia, both put up 40 points on them. So, they're not that good defensively. I mean, they beat Kentucky, and that looks real good on paper, except Will Levis didn't play. So Levis is one of those guys who alters the entire face of a program, so in that case, it takes away significantly from what they did there. But defensively, they have trouble against the run. They don't get a whole lot of sacks. They don't get a whole lot of tackles for loss. Georgia and Arkansas threw against them at will. So, there's some opportunity here. But then again, we've been saying that for weeks, and it hasn't come to fruition yet.
It seems like left and right, something keeps knocking the Aggies, whether it's, okay, let's try a new quarterback. Okay, the new quarterback gets injured. And then the offensive line, it's like one after the other. I mean, it's hard to think about, too, just because let's say it was all still put together, or if A&M had just gotten that 2 yards against Alabama or that completion against Appalachian State, this whole season could be different. We're talking about a top 10 team. But where do you think realistically we sit at right now, the Aggies sit at right now, especially with such a depleted offensive line? Can Haynes King or Connor Weigman even come out there and produce? I guess go into depth with the offensive line and just where A&M could be at and where we're actually at.
Well, it's tough. I mean, for one thing, we're not sure entirely what we're looking at for Saturday. There's a chance Trey Zune comes back. He had a concussion. If he passes the protocol, then he'll play. And they definitely need a left tackle because Aki Ogunbaya had a terrible go of it against Alabama. And apparently he's out too. So you're down to your third string left tackle, whether that's Deuce Fothery or Demetrius Crownover or PJ Williams. I don't know. PJ may get thrown into the fire as a true freshman, and that means, that's I think that'd be 21 true freshmen that have played. But A&M has also had 20 players that I thought would have been in the two deep miss time this year already, and several of them for extended periods. You take a look at the offensive line. If Zune's out, then it's either Crownover or Williams or Fothery. At left guard, it's probably going to be Cam Dewberry. They have been absolutely wiped out at that position. If Bryce Foster is hurt, as we've heard, Matthew Wyckoff will move back over there. And then Layden Robinson's had his ankle issues, and he just may not be able to go at this point. And that would probably be Josh Bankhead or Remington Strickland. Either way, it's going to be a guy making their first career start. So you'll have probably three guys on that line making their first career start. That's pretty tough. They're big guys. They're hat-on-a-hat guys, which makes me think that you take a look at 100th ranked rush defense in South Carolina, you look at Devon Achane, you look at the size of the guys that are going to be in there, I'd just go right at them. Let's keep it simple here.
What other injuries are we looking at besides the offensive line? How's Jalen Jones? How are the rest of the group?
Well, Jalen's fine. I'm hoping Tyreek Chappelle will be back this week. But with Jalen and Denver Harris, they've got a pair of above average, to put it mildly, corners. I'm hoping Andre White will be back. Hopefully Tunmise Adele will be back. You get those guys back, and it's a big deal. White is just a guy who doesn't make a whole lot of mistakes. He's real steady at linebacker, adds depth there for one thing. And then Tunmise is one of those guys who was really playing well against the run before he got hurt. So getting those two back would be huge. Then after that, let's see here. Obviously, McKinley Jackson came back, and that was huge. Walter Nolan's fine. You know, Miles Jones, we're probably not going to see again. I can't imagine that hamstring's going to let him play. Jake Johnson could be back, should be back. Maybe we'll see Gabe Dindy and Bobby Taylor. So, they're starting to get some guys back. They're starting to have some players who can go. But geez, I've never seen anything like the injury list that this team has.
Yeah, that does make it pretty difficult moving forward. After the Alabama game, I was like, well, this team could possibly, still win out. And wow, that would still be a great season. But that's looking difficult at this point, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have opportunities. The schedule definitely gets a lot easier, but you've had a lot riding on freshmen already, and now it looks like you're going to be riding even more on inexperienced players, and that's tough. I mean, maybe some of these guys will come through. I mean, like Fothery and Foster did last year. Where once they got settled in, the offensive line improved. I think Cam Dewberry is going to be a force. It's just a matter of when. And they need to get Layden Robinson back to 100%. He's nowhere near it. I think that's pretty clear. On the plus side, that probably means he also comes back in 2023. So yay for that. They need to get Zune back out there. I saw that he was named a midseason all freshman All-American by The Athletic, I think, today. That's pretty high praise. You're starting to see those come in. Denver Harris, especially. Shamar Stewart's gotten a couple of those. Oh, Shamar Turner is a guy I'm going to be watching for. That's probably a game time decision. But if he's recovered from getting knocked on the head, then you finally got your big four in the middle. So that'll be a plus. But I think that's it for right now. I mean, then again, we've been surprised repeatedly by injuries that we didn't know about and that nobody knew about. And then you walk out there and, hey, why is that guy in sweats? Mm-hmm. So, fingers crossed on that one.
So let's look into the future here a little bit. If you were Jimbo Fisher and you had to hire an offensive coordinator or let's say an offensive line coach, who would you hire?
I don't have any names yet. I mean, well, no, I have one, Joe Brady, if he wants to come, the quarterback coach of the Bills, who put together that amazing LSU offense in 2019 and now has the best quarterback in the NFL in Josh Allen. If he's interested, that's the first call. Outside of that, I don't really know. I mean, it's gonna depend on who's available. They could money whip somebody, but the question is always when you get into a situation like this, and we saw it with Kevin Sumlin, do these guys want to leave an established situation for a place where there's a little bit of upheaval? A&M can obviously money whip folks, but the question still is going to be, and if I'm an offensive coordinator, and for that matter, an offensive line coach, I'd look Jimbo Fisher right in the face and like, are you going to let me do this? Because if you're not, if you're going to, give me this, Sino coordinator in name only position, I'm not going to take it. Mm-hmm. This has to be a full wholesale change in order for it to work. And, you've got to wonder whether Jimbo's willing to bite that bullet and give the opportunity to somebody else.
Well, so at this point, fans and people can look at this season as, optimistic, like, wow, that Alabama game, they came so close. Maybe there's still hope for the rest of the season. Or you can look at it as, oh my gosh, all the injuries, it's depleted and what's happening and explosion. With both of those in mind, where do you think the fan base is surrounding Texas A&M as far as Jimbo Fisher stands?
Angry. Some of it's justified, some of it's not, but they're definitely angry. You take a look at the refusal to adjust the offense and, the fact that it's just stagnant. They're not scoring points. They're not moving the football. I mean, that that's aggravating. You lose to Appalachian State. That's infuriating. You lose, you get bashed by Mississippi State in a game where you were in it, but basically gave it to them. That's infuriating. The offensive line is so bad, and there's no excuse for it. I think that most people are angry and they're frustrated. There are some people that are kind of like, my thought process, which is, well, let's see how this plays out. There's opportunity for the rest of this year and certainly for next. But yeah, I totally get why people would be angry.
Again, this season could be so different if just a few plays were a little different. What about on the recruiting front? I know prior to Alabama, things were still steady. A&M comes very close to beating Alabama. I felt like, there's no moral victory, but moving forward, that I think that did help A&M a little bit. But then Alabama goes and loses to Tennessee, and so on. So where do you think recruits stand at this point with A&M?
It depends really by position group. I think they're in great shape to get more corners, more safeties, maybe another linebacker. They're kind of rummaging around. They're in it for some guys that are still uncommitted, that are very highly ranked at linebacker, but they're also sneaking around checking out some guys that are committed to other schools right now. I'll have more on that in tidbits, but yes, that is a shameless plug. Offensive line, they're looking good, and that's a plus. I think they could probably get one more guy there, but the skill positions are just, it's a wash, and that I think is pretty incriminating of the offense. When you don't have a quarterback committed, you don't have a running back committed, you don't have a wide receiver committed, and there's going to be playing time there for just about anybody.
Yeah.
If they're talented enough, why don't they have any of these fellows committed? So that's the real concern. I think that they're going to do just fine on both lines of scrimmage, at linebacker, at safety. I think they're going to flip some guys. I think they're going to flip a safety. I think they're going to flip a corner. They're going to, at the end of when it's all said and done, people are going to be like, God, these guys just absolutely loaded up at position X, position Y, position Z. The problem is X, Y, and Z aren't the wide receiver positions. They're more like corner, defensive end, and safety. And what do you need? You need those X, Ys, and Zs at receiver right now. And they've just got to get something going. Otherwise, they have no choice. They've got to get into the transfer portal, because you never know what some of these guys may do in the offseason. There may be guys that put up big numbers and they're like, this is too difficult. I can put up bigger numbers somewhere else, which is, once again, another reason why I think you need to look at changing the offense to make sure that these guys understand they're not only going to get theirs, but they're going to get to, really make some big plays. And right now it's just more of the same, and the same isn't working.
How would you change up the offense? Like what would, like, I guess, what would your vision be?
Well, that's a good question. I think, for one thing, you've got to change things at the very base. I think tempo is not, you don't need to go Kevin Sumlin up tempo, but when A&M has used tempo under Jimbo, they've been very effective. You look at 2020, they used tempo, worked very well. You look earlier this year against Miami, the first possession, they went tempo, scored. When Haynes King came in against Mississippi State, tempo, 2 touchdowns, and they moved the ball 2 other possessions and had turnovers. So tempo would be one thing. I would simplify the route tree. I would definitely take a lot off of the quarterback. I mean, the quarterback even has to call blitz pickups, and that's crazy. And I would put that back on the centers. I mean, the best offense we've seen at A&M was in 2012, and Patrick Lewis was the guy calling the blitzes.
When A&M beat Alabama.
Yeah, and look at what Johnny was able to do. I mean, obviously Johnny freelances like nobody ever has or maybe ever will, but they were able to do things. And I think that you need to operate an offense that works to the strengths of your players. And I don't necessarily know if they're doing that right now. I think that if Haynes King is your quarterback, then you roll the pocket. You use his speed. You get him out on the edge. We've seen them do that, and we've seen it work, and then they go away from it. It's almost like Mike Sherman with Ryan Tannehill in the run. You knew it was coming in the first quarter. You knew it was going to be a big play, and then you never saw it again. And it absolutely drove me crazy. But they've got to do stuff like that. They got to move the pocket. They've got to get the ball out faster. I think that I don't want to be a Noel Mazzoni bubble screen guy, but getting the ball out quickly, using motion, slants, I think would be very effective. And then you've got to get the tight end involved and get them down the middle of the field. And they really haven't done a whole lot of that this year. And that's something that we saw with Jalen Weidemeyer and Jay Sternberg an awful lot. Donovan Green can do that. So it's about time that they did it. And I think that maybe you need to simplify some of your blocking schemes. A&M runs an awful lot of counter, and sometimes that works. But when you pull your guard or your center or your guard and your tackle, if somebody blitzes, you're in trouble. Or if somebody, if they've got a fast defensive end, they can come behind it and tackle you. And they're just not overly effective doing that. So I think, just go hat on a hat. Let's go power football, straight up the gut. If you want to go off tackle, go off tackle. But I don't think they need to run counter as much as they do. And they'll do it even in passing situations, which I just flummoxes me to no end. But those would be some of the things that I would do right off the bat. Simplify the route tree, shorten them up because they take too long to develop. Give the receiver some optionality on where they go. Take some heat off quarterback. And if a guy's got the ability to move, then take advantage of it.
Mm-hmm. So Mark will be at South Carolina this weekend. From times that I've been there in the past, it is an electric atmosphere. That's when Kenny Hill became Kenny Trill or something. I think that was it.
Yeah, Kenny Trill.
What are your expectations? Like, give us a score prediction for Saturday night.
Well, I went 28-17 with the South Carolina site. I think that Carolina's offense turns the ball over a lot. Mm-hmm. They've turned the ball over 15 times. They're -6 in turnover ratio. That's terrible. A&M, on the other hand, is +1. So that tells you, a lot about what they did against Alabama and how they were able to, turn the ball over. And I think that they might have hit on something with that aggressive style, which we've been expecting all year. I think that might be something that they carry over into this game. I think that A-Chain should be able to run. They should be able to throw the ball enough. And I think that they'll be able to capitalize on some turnovers. And that should be enough to handle it because, Carolina just does, like A&M, they don't score a whole lot.
Mm-hmm. Last weekend when A&M was on their bye, it seemed to me like a lot of shakeups happened in college football. A lot of movement in the playoffs and the polls. What do you think, I guess, of the college football poll where it is right now? Who's at the top? Is that what you would have thought, or what do you think about it all? It seems like
I don't think anybody had Tennessee at 3 at the start of the season. But, they deserve it. They played really good ball. But then again, look at it. Last year, A&M beat Alabama on a last-second field goal, and Alabama was still in the national championship game. And I think they'll still be there. Tennessee still has one massive obstacle. They still got to play Georgia.
Oh.
They can win. They can be number 3 and not come out of the East. That, welcome to the SEC. Enjoy your stay. You got that. I mean, Ohio State, I'm always going to think Ohio State's overrated. They can win the national championship, and I'd say they're overrated. But they're deserving to be where they are. So you've got those guys set, and then, I really can't care about it right now if A&M's not it. I think that teams like TCU are real interesting because they're not doing anything special. They're just running the ball and playing defense. But you get a little luck, and there you are. I think that Alabama, I think Alabama honestly was kind of taking Tennessee lightly, and they paid for it. They didn't think that Tennessee could move the ball the way they did. But Hendon Hooker is my Heisman pick right now. I think he's a stud. And what kills me is Virginia Tech had him and just let him go. And who do they have now? Connor Blumerick. Not the best of trades.
Yeah.
But it's going to be real interesting. But I hate to think that and thank you Utah for probably knocking USC out of the party. But we're looking at the a lot of the same old same. Georgia's going to be there. Alabama's going to be there. Maybe Tennessee crashes the party. Ohio State, Michigan, same old same. The making the argument for an 8 or 12 team playoff all that much better. So, I think that's where we are right now. But we've got an awful lot of time left. I mean, Alabama could drop another game. Georgia could beat Tennessee. Georgia could lose to Florida. You never know. And who knows? Maybe Tennessee continues their magic streak and somehow beats the Dogs. So
Alabama continues with all these penalties every game.
Yeah, they were stupid. But again, they're a team that when they play right, they're tough to beat. But they have moments where they're undisciplined, and at least A&M has the excuse of youth. Alabama doesn't have that. They've got tremendous talent, but they're screwing up with guys that are seniors and redshirt juniors and all that stuff, as opposed to true freshmen. So, you can take that for what it is.
Okay, so I'm guessing that your dog is barking because he's so excited that the Astros are winning. I see you keep looking up there, so I'm guessing you're looking at the Astros game?
Yeah, it's scoreless, still in the second. Yeah, it's Gibbs the pug, and he's just barking because he wants to be fed. Well, yeah, we all, but he'll just have to wait. He'll have to wait a minute.
Since we're all out of Houston, or you and I are out of Houston, let's just get because I know you're a big baseball guy. What's your opinion on the Astros? Do they sweep the Yankees? Do they win it in 7? Do they go to the World Series?
I think they're going to go to the World Series. I don't know how long it's going to take them, but I think that, if they do, and especially if they win it, they need to send a nice fruit basket to Cleveland, because the Guardians really screwed up the pitching for the Yankees. The fact that they don't have to face Garrett Cole except maybe once the whole series is, fantastic. The secondary, the bullpen for the Yankees is a mess. These are two things that are big advantages for the Astros. And, when you can line up your starting pitching and Verlander goes out and does what he did last night, and Framber's off to a good start tonight, the opportunity to take advantage of it is certainly there for the Astros. And I kind of wonder if the Stros aren't in the Yankees' heads. Beat them 5 out of 7 in the regular season. Took care of them last night. Didn't, when the Yankees had advantages, the Astros didn't even flinch.
Right.
So, and they're sitting here, the Astros have the first rally of the game going right now. But,
I think they are in their head.
Yeah. And, not only that, who was the last team to no-hit the Yankees in old Yankee Stadium? The Astros. Who's the first team to no-hit the Yankees in new Yankee Stadium? The Astros. Beat them in 2017, beat them in 2019. All these things play havoc with an athlete when they face adversity. When they sit there and it's like, it's these guys again. They say to be the best, you got to beat the best. It's like when Michael Jordan was with the Bulls, they had to beat the Pistons. And, when the Rockets had to beat the Lakers or whoever, you've got to take care of these guys. And if you're in a situation where not everybody is just absolutely honed in and, in full belief, there aren't very many Michael Jordans out there who can just carry a team to a championship. And, Aaron Judge is great, but baseball is the ultimate team sport. And if there's any doubt, any wonder about whether or not you can compete with somebody, then you're going to lose.
Yeah, I think the Astros definitely win. Like you said, though, I don't know if it'll be a sweep or if it'll be in 7. I don't think it'll take 7 games.
No, I think it could be 5 or 6. I'm not thinking 7.
Yeah, I agree. And how crazy would that be going into the World Series? No Yankees and no Dodgers.
I'm all for it. And if it I don't really have a preference for either the Padres or the Phillies. I'm fine with either of them, because
Yeah.
they've already done the Astros favors by knocking off the Braves and the Dodgers. So, as long as those guys want to go 7 games and beat each other's brains in, have at it.
More entertainment for the city of Houston. I love how hype it gets around Houston and everywhere, really, when the Astros are in the playoffs like this, and all the buildings downtown are orange and blue, and just the atmosphere at the stadium. It's awesome. All right, well, that concludes this week's F Word Football Podcast with Mark Passwaters and Courtney Rowland. Be sure and tune in next week. Be sure and tune into Tidbits on Friday. And also all of Mark's updates from the game Saturday night in South Carolina. Mark, we appreciate it.
No problem. See you later.